there a way you could put everybody's name in a square so we could see everybody who's there or not? Is that possible?
So I can do that. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay if it's not.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, we're going now, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Morrow County Clean Water Consortium to order. And before we get going, I'd just like to say thank you all for being here. Want to make sure we won't go through introductions tonight. Everybody pretty much has been to another meeting. But if there is there anybody on Zoom that hasn't been to any of our meetings that would like to introduce themselves? I can't see it real good. Just raise your hand if you want, if you're new and want to introduce yourself. I don't see anybody, but. Okay. So I just want to remind everybody that this is we want to have an open discussion. So while we have our presenters going through the items, I want to encourage everybody to ask questions. This is a two-way street here. We want to find out what's happening out in the community, and we want you to be well informed so you can take back to the public what we're doing, accurate information, so they're not getting false information on social media or something, So just with that said, then we'll start with our first item is our minutes. Have you had a chance to look at our minutes from the last, was it the last meeting or?
And I've made one correction to the minutes. I had the name Keith Williams in there incorrectly. It should be Keith White, who, yeah. I've already got that corrected.
Okay, so June 10th minutes. Do I hear a motion to accept these with the correction?
I'll make that motion.
We moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item up, we'll start with our business items. And first one is our consideration of procurement policy. Our general manager, our manager wasn't able to make it in person. Matt, he's up there. So, and I think he's got the majority of the business items. So Matt, you want to go ahead with 3A?
Thank you, Chair. Yes. During the last meeting, as we were discussing contracts for engineering and grant working, there was a proposal to review procurement rules and set one up for the Clean Water Consortium. Since that last meeting, we have been looking at the Oregon Attorney General's model public contracting rules, as well as we did receive the copies from the Port of Morrow on what they're using and the City of Oregon. Those, as we've looked at those with Eileen, our counsel, she strongly recommends, what we're looking at is the model rules that are proposed under the state's areas covers a lot of the items that we would need to procure. And so what we'd like to do is kind of follow the Port of Morrow's path of just adopting adopting the model rules and then supplementing them with some modifications that allow a little bit more flexibility for local governing and intergovernmental agencies, specifically when it comes to personnel services and such. I've included the copy of the Port of Morrow's actions that they took earlier this year to adopt the model rules. We believe that's a great foundation. Eileen leans very heavily towards that and does say that just following the model rules is not great because it prohibits certain things under personal services and that we need to have more flexibility on, that the state restricts more. And so if we did that and kind of followed the Port of Morrow's language is there. With that, we just received those last week, and so we didn't have time to fully do an adaptation of that language for Clean Water Consortium with the holiday and such. But I did on the cover sheet just show what those ranges are for following the model rules. On that cover sheet, it talks about how the small procurement is purchases less than $25,000 can be made without a competitive purchasing process. And so there's nothing required on that. Coincidentally, that's the same level that's approved for the managing director for the Clean Water Consortium. Of course, we want to be responsible to report what we're spending on those, but so less than 25,000 does not require competitive. Intermediate is 25,000 to $250,000. That requires 3 informal quotes that can be received through verbal or written requests, and can allow us to do quite a bit on that fold. Then anything over $250,000 hits a full competitive proposal that requires formal posting, advertising, and needs to be formally sent out using either an invitation to bid, request for proposal, request for qualifications. That said, there are some flexibilities for under the model rules. A purchasing agency can decide to go through architectural and engineering related services up to the amount of $100,000 using a direct appointment process that would make it so you wouldn't have to do competitive bidding. And so you can just appoint contractors or consultants up to $100,000 as it goes to architectural and engineering. This would give the Clean Water Consortium quite a bit of flexibility and the ability for us to respond while still being transparent when it comes to the big projects that we are looking to do. The interesting thing about the Clean Water Consortium is we're going to have either very small purchases to take care of the day-to-day business, or quite likely we'll then be jumping up to the large capital projects. So I really see that outside of some of the consultant services, 2 of which we're going to discuss as the next matter, most of our items will be either the small level or competitive level, and we just need to get set up for consulting and getting those things taken care of right now. So with this, what we're looking to do is if the board is all right with it, we'd like to finalize a resolution for adoption of the model rules, and then conform the Port of Morrow's language that they adopted and conform that to the use of Clean Water Consortium. Part of the consideration is the Port of Morrow, a bigger operation, of course, and they have surplus property that they might need to get rid of. I don't know if we need to include that language because I'm not sure if we'll be accruing property so much in the Clean Water Consortium. But that's something we could include or just not include to keep it nice and streamlined. And so with that, had been hoping to have a finalized resolution and such, just with the holiday schedules and the lateness on getting some of the information. I didn't have that ready, and I'm anticipating that we could have it ready. The other 2 considerations for contracts we can take later on actions following the model rules, which is the default protocol until we adopt something else. With that, I'd open it up to the board for any questions or discussions. Would appreciate feedback, and let us know if we're going in the right direction on this.
I think we got quite a bit of actually some expertise in the room. We got Brandon, Lisa, Aaron, and Kevin, who've dealt with this probably more than anybody here. What do you guys think of this? You know, you probably first.
Yeah, so, good job, Matt. I'd just like to clarify so everybody's aware of, is the 250,000 is for professional services. Public bidding for projects that's shovel in the ground is 150. That is state law, and we all have to follow that. So, but what Matt was doing was talking about the professional services, engineers, grant writers, that is up to 250,000. The projects, sticks in the ground, that's 150,000. And in that, I've had to do it in other places because people forget. I'm not mentioning the $25,000, but, I don't know where you want to put it. It's probably just in the resolution, Matt, but for, if it's a federal federal funds, then you have Javits, O'Day, Wagner, prevailing wage. Otherwise it follows, Woolley, which is typically that's what we'd be doing. Anything over 50,000, stick in the ground, is you have to do prevailing wage. I don't know where you want to put that, because people forget. And I have to keep reminding them.
Did you say 50,000 was the cutoff for prevailing wage?
That is if you're gonna go out for a project and people bid on a project and it's more than $50,001, that contractor then has to pay prevailing wage. You follow rules. Unless it's federal dollars, and then you gotta follow the feds, but whatever's greatest, and typically always bigger.
And if you would like, at our next meeting, we could have Mark Patton and Jeff Wilson come to the meeting. They're the ones on our crew that deal with these contracts all the time.
Might be a good idea, so. Now, what you were just doing clarification,
Just clarification.
not something you want to.
No, just so that you're all aware of it.
Okay.
Uh,
So you think you're looking for a motion to move forward with the Morrow model, Matt? Is that what you're, and then bring it back for final approval? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the Morrow model and have the administrator bring back the final version after, for approval?
So much.
Okay, we hear a second. Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay,
And Matt, we'll get that to you in a Word document, so you can make the changes as needed, easier.
Thank you.
Was there any thoughts on that surplus property stuff that you can?
I'm glad you asked, Chair. I don't know that we need it. It kind of is a little misleading if people read it and wonder if we have surplus property and we don't own any property.
You've heard.
It's not for anything.
Leave it in.
Maybe in 3 years we do have surplus.
Oh, it could be real property or,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
I believe it.
sure.
okay. Any further questions or discussion on that? Okay, next we got 3D contracts. We have 2 contracts. Matt, you want to talk to us about those?
Yes. This is in follow-up on the consulting engineer. We're in our last meeting, we discussed awarding a contract to GSI Water Solutions. Originally we were talking about $25,000, but it was pointed out we could go up to $100,000. Particularly with the funding that's been approved and looking at other options. I think rightfully so from Lisa's and Aaron's directions, getting the contract up to $100,000 gives us more flexibility to provide it and take care of it. So what we're looking to do is do an initial contract for 1 year with GSI Water Solutions, but with a contract not to exceed $100,000. The contract has been reviewed by GSI. They've kind of given us a tentative thumbs up. They've got just two items that they'd like to clarify. We've sent that over to Eileen. She has just 2 items as well, but we're very close to getting it taken care of. But the terms of the contract would be for a single year, not to exceed $100,000, and based on an hourly basis that's outlined in the rate schedule as in the exhibit. We would ask, since we do not have a finalized contract, the items that we're looking at are just kind of legalese between the two. And if we could ask for authorization to approve contracting with GSI and to authorize the board chair to sign the contract once legal review is finalized.
Question, I'm comfortable with that as long as there are no real substantive changes, and if it goes through Eileen, our legal counsel, that should be fine. I just don't want to put you in a compromising position if something crazy happens to the
Yeah.
contract, like any substantive changes would, I'm not exactly sure what those would be, but
Yeah, I don't like compromising positions.
yeah.
The changes that we would have, and we would have an email from Eileen saying, giving a thumbs up to the chair before we have signature on it. There was just some questions. What we did was we took the boilerplate contract, services contract form that we developed for Morrow County, switched it over to the consortium. GSI has just asked about two items about a liability coverage and indemnity, just for clarification on language with that. And so I've sent that over to Eileen, and we should have that worked out within the next 2 days, is I'm thinking is all it'll hold out for. So, but rather than pushing that out for another meeting, we'd ask for consideration. Like I said, substantively, it's 1 year, no more than $100,000 based on an hourly basis, as outlined in the rate sheet.
I have a good question, because I don't really understand how all that's gonna work, but, so we provide him with a scope of work, we say, here's the project, and he just does that hourly and does his back? Or are we just literally giving him 100, I don't know,
So
time and material, so we will just define the scope of work that he's going to.
He'll define the scope.
He'll decide.
This usually the way those work.
So we have and I'll tell you, his is a little bit looser than the next contract you'll see. The next contract does have a work order form where we're saying, here's the specific details we need you to work on, and please take care of it. With this engineering consulting one, we didn't do it under the work order form just to give a little more latitude, as you know, coming and just taking care of business and being a consultant. We might be asking questions or verification on things like the West Glen project as it gets a little bit further, other items, and we could do an informal scope of work on projects and make sure that those are outlined specifically, and get that set up in that way, though, and then report back to the board when I send those type of requests out to them.
I think it's okay, as long as we don't duplicate GSI's, what they're doing already, and what they're going to bring to the next table. And then I did have one more question, Matt, is one contract, and that's no big deal, gives a per diem for the rate of a car, and then gives a 10% over, and the other contract doesn't. I just didn't know why that was. Just a simple thing, but it seemed odd that.
That's the agreement they have with the GSI has. It is common to have a little bit of an administrative fee. The other one was not a request on their part, so I did not include that in there.
Okay, I was just wondering.
I also had a question about that. So, GSI is doing the roadmap work stuff through, Murphy's office is paying for that. So a lot of that work that he's already doing though is beneficial to what we're also gonna be doing. So it's not like double,
No.
he's not gonna redo any of that because he's already done a lot of that main work.
I think that's a really important point, and I get those invoices and review the roadmap
Mhm.
invoices and send them to Kevin. And Matt will be reviewing these invoices. I think the consultant wants the work and they'll make sure that they're not duplicating, but Matt and I are gonna have to figure out how to coordinate the work that he's doing.
Mhm.
So we
Because
just
he
have
has
to,
already done a lot of that work.
that's exactly right, yeah. And.
Yeah,
Kevin,
I
are
have a
you-
couple things. First one is if, to help Commissioner Sykes, if you can have a signature block that your attorney would sign off on that contract. I do that on a lot of them, so that it's text.
What also, what if you say that I will sign it, why don't you say I could, can
Good,
sign it?
whatever, but
And then if I see something that bothers me, I can bring it back to you guys.
you could, but if you have her signature on there.
Well, I know,
then
I know,
it's
but-
Stronger.
but I
Approved
mean,
as
she
the
just
form.
looks for legal things, she doesn't look for policy. You know?
Correct, but she's gonna look at all that stuff.
Yeah, no, I understood, but I mean, if, like, she had a question, if you have a policy question that's in there with the board.
They need to look, you guys need to look at it, yeah. I think that's there, right? I think most of it, what I look.
No, we can add an approved perform attorney signature block.
Another thing, Matt, we have, and I think Boardman does it, there's multiple engineers, because Ford has in-house engineers, but we have a big contract with our city engineer, but they come back with task items, statement of works, an SOW, a SAL, and it's very detailed. Task one, and I'm gonna do this, you guys are gonna do this, or who else, so that you don't have duplication. And it's still in that 100,000, or whatever the dollar amount is, but it's time and material, and they'll tell us what it is. An estimate, time and material, you guys do that, so that you see that and you track it. I think that, Ronan would do that. I think that it's good, not just an open-ended thing, so that it protects them and protects the integrity of the process.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also how Nick Ducote does.
Yes, he
business.
does.
Yeah, I like that approach too. Otherwise, Exhibit A, I think I hear what you're saying. Exhibit A lists general work, but not, specific projects. But they are going to provide consulting on identifying, vetting, and prioritizing projects. So, we don't know yet. That's exactly right. I think between Ronan and Matt, they'll suss out the detail of next steps there. Yeah. Oh, Mike, there's Mike.
Yeah. I was just reading and stuff. I've been reading.
Hey, I was just gonna recommend if you're not gonna have GSI provide a scope of work that just require that they provide a project summary or a summary report with every invoice that will define what the invoice is for. So that's all.
Every house admit one monthly billing for work performed. The billing shall describe with particularity all work performed, by whom it was performed, and shall itemize and explain all expenses for which reimbursement is claimed, and that this contract requires the consortium to pay. So it's kind of in there.
Just by contrast with the roadmap project, which is also federal funding, so there's a lot of scrutiny on that. We have those in phases, so we just finished phase 2, and before they start work on phase 3, that has to go, GSI will develop this detailed scope of work, and then that gets routed through Kevin, our fiscal agent, and then the Board of Commissioners. So I like that, and then when I get invoices, it will summarize which portion of that scope of work they worked on, so it sounds like that's what Erin does too. And maybe that just, I think Matt, as the manager of the contract can decide how to do that, but I think your point is really well taken to make sure they don't submit invoices for work they've already done or double invoice both here and the other project.
Well, and it also says it here.
Yeah, yes. I just read that.
Oh, it does, yeah, oh, okay.
6.2.
What page, Kelly?
5.4.
Oh,
And
5.
6.2 covers it as well.
So I've heard a lot of things. Is there gonna be a, I think part of the motion as I sign off on this, is there gonna be a summary of what should be changed? or what should be added. So I know that what they've talked about here is done.
I think the only thing is the signature block for the attorney.
That's it.
And then the day-to-day or the project-by-project management is really up to Matt's discretion.
Yeah.
That's what I heard. Is there more?
Yeah, the signature block was the one for sure thing I was looking at changing. Yeah, the particulars of the the reporting is something I think we can do informally in that, unless we wanted to create a form to have them do it. One reason why, this is kind of an overall consulting one. There's going to be times when we have them come to this meeting just to be at the meeting and provide feedback. And then there's going to be other times when we're having them work directly on specific projects. Those things definitely, particularly with grant tracking and expenditures, we'll need to be able to track and keep those separate so we can hopefully get reimbursed on some of those items. And we will be doing that through more or less a task order or scope of work project orders on that. But the overall approach on it is they're going to be our consulting engineer on overall things plus specific project items. So I kind of wanted the contract to be a little bit loose for that, just to be able to do that. But we will definitely be requiring them to account for all the items. And I always believe in trust but verify as far as making sure that they're not double billing us on things. And we'll be relying on Tamara and our fiscal agent to help out on that as well.
Any other comments,
Comfortable with
questions?
Did we talk right over it?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
not so much like double billing, but he's gonna bring all that information and all that work that he's already done over to here.
That's one of the benefits. I mean, Matt can answer, but I think that's one of the benefits of having them
Yeah.
is they have that
He's already done a
built
lot of work.
in. Yeah, and starting from scratch with a whole nother engineering firm.
You'd be paying for all of that work.
That's right. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's exactly, I mean, we anticipate to lean on that knowledge and not have to have them do kind of a mobilization cost and getting up to speed. And definitely parlaying some of that information so we don't have to pay for it to be developed again, and making sure, again, that we aren't double charged for that.
Any other concerns, questions, comments? Okay. Did you discern a motion in there somewhere, Valerie? Well, why don't you tell us what you need, Matt?
I'd just like a motion to, more or less a motion to approve contracting with GSI Water Solutions. Um, and authorize the board chair to sign the contract when legal review is finalized.
I heard a
So
second.
moved.
Okay,
Okay.
somebody make that motion. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, all opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, thank you, Matt. Next one up would be our grant consultant contract with Ducati Consulting. There you go. Talk to us about that, Matt.
So this is similar but different. As we go through, and as if you look at the Oregon Attorney General's model procurement rules, this is one that is kind of in the gray area for architectural and engineering services. It isn't specifically outlined for grants. And in fact, this would be more eligible for qualification under the personal services. As we haven't had an outlined procurement policy on that, I did reach out to Nick Ducote and ask him how much he figured would be services for helping apply for grants over the next year. And he said, $25,000 would probably take care of that fairly well. He said, if we got into some major grant administration, that would be insufficient. But for grant application, identification, processing, and reviewing projects for potential, he said $25,000 should work out fairly well. The fact that we have several of our funding right now coming in flow is great, but we want to make sure we're continuing to review that. And the model rules do allow us to do a non-competitive bid for goods and services up to $25,000. And so just to give you a point of reference, we've used Nick quite a bit on different projects with the county, and we haven't spent that much in a year. While this would be specific and targeted, I think the $25,000 in the first year should be fine. Once we get the procurement process adopted, if we wanted to put that up and make it over a couple of years, then that would be the opportunity to do that. Or if the board decided to take it out to RFP or get informal bids for other ones, we can do that. So at this time, Dakota's been a great help as we've been helping her through the congressional designated spending grants. He's helped out on several of the others with the county. I know he's been a boon to the city of Aragon as well, and we'd like to continue with him as he's kind of in the flow, similar to what GSI has done. And so, following the model rules, we would ask for a motion to approve a contract with Dakota Consulting, and for 1 year, not to exceed $25,000, and to authorize the board chair to sign it once legal review is completed. And just to let you know on that one, Dakota Consulting has come back and given us a thumbs up on it. There are just 2 items that Eileen would like to update, and so we just need to go back and forth with them on that as well. Again, hoping to get that taken care of in the next day or 2.
So can you pay, the grant writing services out of both either state or federal money? I don't know. Depends on what they say. I mean, do we need to specifically make sure that we're not spending that money where we can't spend it?
I think
So-
it depends on the budget for whatever the grant project and how that's written and how that's itemized that. So we're able to recover costs for the Cody under the EPA grant for the congressional directed spending at the time.
But-
That's kind of.
But we're not identifying those sorts of funding that we're using to pay for this grant.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think it matters.
Well, I think I understand Kelly's question. I think it's a good one. But for example, the congressional direct spending, we call it the CDS 2 monies that has been approved. That's under a scope of work between Morrow County and Nick Ducote, not as part of the consortium work. And you can't use federal money, the way I understand, except you can get a certain amount reimbursed for defining the scope of work.
It's very limited.
Yeah,
You put 15, and I've seen some you put 10, they'll kill you. You might get 5%.
That's something we need to think about, and we,
You'd have to look at what the funder, state or federal, what's their limit, but for grant administration, typically, you can't go to 10%. I've seen some get to 15, but that's rare, and that's usually in HUD money. We don't qualify for HUD here in Morrow County.
Yeah, there's not doing grant administration for the county. There were pre-project expenditures for that, occurred during the application process of EPA authorized us to go back and reimburse for those, so.
so would that also include matching funds? Like if we do get a grant, do federal funds cover matching dollars?
Depends on the grant.
This depends on the grants. Right.
typically you can't use federal funds to do grant match for federal. But that's why Kevin does such a good job.
We're just gonna rely on you, Kevin. I was just wondering, just things thinking down the line.
And we have used state funds to show federal.
I got a couple questions. I noticed in here under grant writing, federal, state, local, and private. when the grant, who's going to be deciding? Particularly I'm looking at the private, who to apply to and what to apply, which projects to apply to on the private, who's gonna decide that? Do you have any idea of the board or?
I would still like to bring these to the board.
Okay.
Because, some of those grant opportunities have political strings to them, and we want to make sure that the board's aware of where we're going to be asking for those monies.
Yeah,
And so, yeah,
I'm not saying that it would be the wrong place. I just think that we should be cognizant of what certain monies can be used for and what private money could be used for, and maybe try to group the things that private can only fund together, rather than piecemeal it. Maybe we could apply for, I don't know.
We talked about doing that in the budget, didn't we? Setting up a
Yeah.
budget that said we can spend this money on these things and this money on those
Yeah,
things.
so that's a standard accounting practice when revenue of any type is going to be received. We can segregate it depending on if there's restrictions attached to that, just like you do. Accounting, it's like, right, yeah.
And maybe I just give a little,
Him to let you know all these programs well enough to know. which
Yeah,
ones we're going
And
to
he's
do.
pretty brilliant at doing that, Nick.
Yeah.
What is
Um,
that word?
no, I don't doubt that, but just say, they understand you can't use public funds for private property, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So are we gonna be able to group
With
all,
federal public funds.
just federal, you use state?
Uh, What
Okay.
about local public funds for private property?
If it's discretionary, that's.
Well, yeah,
Okay,
no,
I'm
I'm
asking-
talking
Up to the
about,
governing
but
body.
we're trying to not spend our consortium discretionary funds. We're trying to conserve that as much as we can. If
I
there's
was
any
just
money
saying,
left.
like, she was saying, if it's government, so if the county wanted to give you money, it would have to come out of discretionary.
Right, no, I wasn't talking about the county.
And then you could use it on private property.
Okay,
Because it's discretion.
yeah, no, I'm,
But state and federal, you're not touching private property.
I guess what I'm talking about, and I think this would have to be coordinated with Ronan, is, for instance, if there's a group, if identify certain wells in certain areas that would be drilled deeper, cased, I don't know, I'm just
Mhm,
throwing stuff
mhm.
out there because I don't know. I mean, I read the roadmap, but I know what if there's one large company in Morrow County that might be open
Uh-huh.
to, doing some water funding for real, instead of saying, oh, okay, well, we got a little group of wells over here, let's ask them for that. Group them all together and go to them and say, okay. Because what I've talked to with the company is get your project together, get your timeline and get your cost. Cause I asked, how much should we ask for? They said, well, don't ask for a certain amount, let them decide that, see? So that's what my thought is an approach like that is, okay, does that make sense? I don't know. Try to get
That's a,
one big grant, huh?
absolutely.
Okay, for the things that federal and state funds will, okay. So you're saying that might come to the board for approval rather than just the grant writer deciding on it?
I'm fairly confident that he's not going to submit any grant without
Oh,
our buy-in on it. So he'll be identifying and bringing them to us, and they
Okay.
might be small ones, they might be big ones. I would hope that if there's a small one that could do it, that's under the $25,000 mark, that's an easy thing, that I, as the managing director, could have the consideration to do that. But larger ones, we definitely want to have that come before the Clean Water Consortium Board.
Okay. I just think there's some private money out there and we ought to utilize it the best. we can.
Totally agree with you.
Okay, my second question was on number 3 for the infrastructure financing. That was something I didn't realize was part of his work. Is that something that he has done quite a bit of, Uh, So
Mhm,
Ducati has?
He
mhm.
has.
Okay, great. No, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
Something that the county really hasn't looked at it with them, because they've pretty much been pay as you go. But it is something that Grand Riders, I mean, they're equipped to help educate and provide options for us on that.
okay. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? Okay, what are you looking for on a motion on this one, Matt?
Similar motion to approve contracting with Dakota Consulting for grant writing services and authorize the board chair to sign the contract when legal review is finalized.
So moved.
Moved in second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next up is 3C projects and Senate Bill 5531 legislative update. You want to talk to that, Matt? And I don't know, maybe Tamara wants to talk to it and Lisa too. I don't know.
I would defer to Matt.
Okay,
He's looking.
First of all, I want to give the port extremely due credit on assisting and encouraging us to apply for a CapCon request this year. They pretty much put Ryan, their lobbyist, at our disposal, and she helped guide us through that. And I know Ryan and I'm sure Lisa did a lot of conversations behind the behind the scenes on helping us go through this. SB 5531 was a CapCon request that, quite frankly, we had no business getting. There was $2 billion worth of requests, only about $300 million of awards, and we're part of that award. We received if the governor signs it, which we have communications from their staff that they're very supportive of this portion of ours, at least. The Morrow County for the Clean Water Consortium, so we'll have to do something to go through for it. It will be receiving $2.85 million for providing connections to municipal systems. While there's a lot of talk about West Glen, and West Glen was used as a community targeted for this amount, we are still in the community outreach with them, and the bill does have latitude, though we want to report back if we did not use it on West Glen and had to use it for an alternate community. However, this is based all on the technical studies that we've done through the Business Oregon grants that the county has had. And if all goes well with the community outreach and we identify solutions, this will be an extremely important vital funding for us to go through. It received great response as we went through. It was I went down and testified twice on this, and we received some really good feedback and questions on it. And again, appreciate the port helping and putting Ryan as a resource for us. I know Representative Smith reached out and asked if this was the priority, and I relayed it was for us to get some action going and pipe in the ground. And I'm just nervously looking forward to the governor signing it. I don't think we'll have any roadblocks, but once that's done, we'll be reporting back to the board on exactly how that comes about. This money won't be coming until the 2027, so we've got a good 20 months before it comes available. But this might be something we want to look at asking and seeing if we can pre-spend some of the money or whatnot, or do the engineering that would be involved with the project. So when the money becomes available, we can ask for reimbursement for that and then go right into construction. But I think it's a great sign from the state saying that they hear the need to get action going for the nitrate issue in Morrow County. And that's pretty much the story I've heard from legislatures as I was able to go down to Salem and interact with some of those. So again, available in 2027 It's funded through the lottery bond, uh, lottery money bonds, and it gets us a good ways on if the project can pull the trigger for West Glen.
Hey, Matt, question, Business Oregon is gonna manage this on behalf of the state, right?
You know, I believe that's typically what
I
it
think that's
is.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
Push it over to Business Oregon on all that stuff.
Mhm.
So there's a process, I will let you know, because I got some. And you can't spend any money until you get a contract signed.
Yeah.
Just be careful, and it's a slow process of reporting and it's a cost reimbursement.
We get them sent to several different fiscal offices for managing the state money, but I will say, don't stress too much about the fact that it's a 2027 funding of lottery bonds. Sometimes they have money available that they can actually pre-lend that money and then pay it back with those bonds. There's lots of opportunities for that, so.
Yeah.
The general services, agree, it could go to some of the sides.
This is water, sewer, they do everything.
Okay.
The only thing that was changing, I mean, this is, I was just reading it and I kind of questioned, it says that if the funding is approved, the county would need to organize a district to manage the water systems and complete an IGA with the city of Boardman to supply water and provide maintenance.
So Kelly, the way that it works is the project gets funded with two sentences. That's
Okay,
going to
that's
be-
what I was wondering.
And
Because narrative is we're
Then
stuck with
once that
project.
does get signed, they'll come back to us and you'll prepare the contract version
Okay,
for
okay,
everybody. And that's
okay, so
where-
this was just a narrative to kind of, okay, got it.
Mhm. And there's still how to, just to respond to you, Kelly, how to finalize that and the agreements between it. I mean, whether we need a special district or not, or we're just extending their service and we have an agreement showing that's what we're doing. There's still some of those final points that will be worked out hopefully over the next 6 months as we have this funding made available, and hopefully as we get continued feedback from the West Glen residents. Looking forward to getting more clarification and using this as a pilot project, hopefully for other applications here in the county.
Well, thank you for the kind words. Ryan is a go-getter and, we pay them both on the state side and federal side for lobbying work and they will work their tails off to get projects done. So
Yeah.
we did a lot with it. And I'm staying with you. I got a call from Greg saying he just really want funding. Really want funding. Yeah. he wanted funding.
It's exciting, and I think it's a great thing for the consortium. Really shows that the parties are getting together and looking for actual solutions, and I think we've gotten a good response to that.
So a timeline for that. Is it, she signs it, then we fill out more detailed asks?
We find out who it's assigned to for the contract. And then we try and work on the contract as quickly as
So
possible.
that's up to us to do the contract.
Well, that they will send a draft. It
The
all
agency
goes through
Okay.
Attorney General's office
This is all good.
for review on their site.
Yeah. With the governor's signature, we'll start reaching out to them to see what the options are. Of course, I do want to get through the meetings in August and September with West Glen, just to work through any issues and concerns and make sure that we're working well with them. And then we start working on the project application or whatnot that they need us to do to get the funds and make sure we're not having to recreate the will if things change with West Glen or other ways. So.
Any other comments, questions on the grant and the legislative update? Pick up any other gossip while you were down there. Legislative update would cover quite a bit.
Yeah, I do have to say that
Opportunities, gossip,
we were part of the being a part of county college. We were part of the 30 or so county commissioners group that was there when the transportation bill was being bantered about on the last day of the session, and we were part of the mob that came in and scared the committee. It was kind of fun to see politics in motion up on Salem. So, but it was good. In fact, I was able to meet Ryan during that meeting for the first time, and we chatted a bit about this and a couple other bills that were going on. So,
Okay. Okay, thank you, Matt. Next up, we'll go to the West Glen Technical Feasibility Project.
So, wanted to give you an update on this. This is the county's Business Oregon project that's going on. They have had their first meeting on June 18th. About 20 people attended with it, and board member Doherty was there and participated in it, and several of our advisory committees. And so I'd love to get their feedback on the meeting. Takeaway is we have residents who are concerned about it. We have residents who say that they need more of their neighbors to show up. And we are going to be looking at going out and going door to door before the next one to make sure they are invited and they know about what it is, and answer any questions on the doorsteps if we can. We want to get more people there. We want to get vetted thing out. People still, they want to use their own wells, particularly for the irrigation. If we don't allow them to have irrigation water, I think that's a deal stopper on that. However, my intent, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the Clean Water Consortium is not concerned about capping their well for irrigation purposes. That it would be disconnected from their house to connect to the city water, but they can continue their well use as they wanted. And so that's the approach that I've taken. We're not into regulating those, and so that's the way that I'm approaching this. The other thing is just questions about water, the city water costs, what the city puts in the water, and we're going to be trying to get that information there. They did ask for some additional information and training in the next meeting. Part of it is we kind of had to push off on the how this is all going to be funded, because we had 5531 and some other things up in the air. In our August meeting, we can start addressing that a little bit more in detail. They also there was questions about the residential wells compared to having a water right, and why they couldn't just create a community well system. And so we're going to have some more information on water rights and residential domestic wells, and to help educate on that. I even got some more information on local access roads that we'll be able to share with the community, because they asked about that too. So we're going to have some stuff up there just to educate them and try to show that the consortium and its partners are trying to come up with a solution that will help them in the immediate future, while we continue to look at permanent solutions to the nitrate issues in the aquifer. I kind of zoomed out on Zoom, but I don't know if the advisory committee would like to add anything to those who attended. Not-
Yeah, so I think really the biggest thing that we need is just to get people to show up. If we know ahead of time, with some notice, we could I can let my mom know. She tells her neighbors, and their neighbors tell their neighbors, and they look out for the pamphlet in the mail, because a lot of the times it comes in the mail, they don't know what it is, they throw it away. My mom didn't get one. I think
The postcard?
yeah. But I had already told her that we were going, so she knew. But if we just know ahead of time, but I think really people just need to know, just to come get information. But we really just need more people to show up.
Could I ask if, so Matt's contracted with Rev out of EOU and they have multiple, bilingual people. Would you, maybe both of you be willing to talk with Grace and share that information? I can pass it along. And then we also have the landowner list that came out of the planning office, my office. And that should be accurate. It goes to the owner of the property. And so if it's not owner occupied or whoever gets the tax bills, if it goes to a different place, then they wouldn't get that in their mailbox. And we mailed them, somebody in my office drove them to Boardman so they could get them because they only have like a week ahead of time.
Yeah, that was one thing that we did hear back, is that they, the people who attended didn't receive it and just heard it from other people, or they talked to neighbors who had not received the postcards. And so that's an interesting aspect. It was only mailed the week before because we wanted to make sure it was fresh on their minds. But that's something we need to look into a little bit, and is also one of the reasons why we are looking to go door to door towards the end of July to let people know when that August date is. We don't have that August date set yet. I'm looking to pull together another meeting and get that date set. We should have that date set in the next week or so that we can start getting the word out and letting people put that on their calendar.
Yeah, and Anna did tell Matt that she'd be willing to help to go door to door and talk to people, and so would I, I know almost every person, at least on the two streets where my mom lives, and the next street over. But we are willing to help, at least try to get some people to try to show up. And my mom said that the interpreter did a really good job and she really liked it.
Okay,
They did
that's
a good
good.
job.
Hey, Matt, I got a question, and maybe so it can go back to legal counsel, and I deal with a lot of the public notices and land use stuff. The ramifications or the ability or capability or lack thereof, when you have a tenant versus a property owner that owns the well. I think the consortium needs to look at that, because that would, to preempt that, you need to look at that. As an example, when we do land use stuff, it gets mailed to who owns the property. There might be a long-term tenant. This is not a general obligation or a tax kind of thing where a tenant gets to vote if they're an electorate. This is a real property thing and they don't have the rights to that. I think you need to discuss that so that tenants know what they can and can't do. Because I believe it's a landlord, it's an owner occupied, it's an owner's purview there, but we might have a lot of tenants and they're the ones that have issues. And some of those absent landlords might be part of the issue.
But those landlords have an obligation.
They do, but somewhere you gotta get them both in, and I just would say we need some legal counsel on that.
Okay. Do you see issue? Is this kind of like where long-term lease and the tenant is doing the improvements and buys the equipment for the well? Is that what you're seeing for them owning the well or whatnot?
No, who's the owner of the well is the person that basically we say, as Tamara said, who pays the tax bill. They have an obligation, but because there are some federal laws too, and not just the state, but if all that's going out, we expect more people to show, and let's say 50% of them are tenants. Well, you're not gonna get there very easy, and I think you need some legal stuff so that you can walk through the forest so that you can get to yes, because that's gonna be a hurdle. If there's a landlord that says, you ain't touching my well, but you got some tenants there, now you have a different issue.
Well, when you say owner of the well, that's the same as owner of the property.
Correct,
Okay, that's
correct.
how you're saying that.
Yeah.
It's someone, I've never heard of it, it's separate, so.
It's
just
not, but it's
Yeah,
property owner.
I understand that.
And there, I don't know how many are tenants, and that They probably didn't get it because it went to landlord, you know, the owner.
Yeah, understood.
We have other, we need to review how many families share that well, because it's only no one owner, so the owner is one property, so other people or other families share the same well, so I see
That's
many
another issue.
problems. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
big issue.
yeah.
Yeah.
And- And based on, this is just my role as the planner and worked with the Water Resources Department. They're willing to help provide whatever technical information, and so I think, Matt, we can ask, Chris Hoyts for that information. They should, maybe it might be GSI information, because, it's a long story, but the data that the state has on these private wells is not very good. Especially the older ones or hand dug wells, they might not even know they exist. So doing a property by property inventory. I have heard that many will share a well. But I don't know which ones.
Can you go to the county assessor, because I share a well where we are on our property,
Uh-huh.
and we've got a recorded shared well.
A shared
agreement.
well agreement, that's
So
why
I
I'm
don't know if
asking.
you can go to the assessor
Mm,
in the office and find out which of those properties that you're looking actually have a shared well agreement on file, which might help.
And that's in deeds, and we have one in the Hurricane area,
mhm.
and one party, and it was outside the city limits, so I said, you gotta go get some, and it became a civil issue.
Oh.
And one party shut the other one off,
Uh-oh.
Are you allowed to do that?
not legally, but how do you do that? It's a civil issue. I think you need some guidance. I said,
Don't get any
I'm
ideas.
sorry, you can't do that, but people do it.
Well, the city shuts off water when people don't pay their bill.
So I actually have, Anna Maria, right? I have a question. How would Matt or I get that information? And do you think people would be, I mean, other than walking around canvassing the neighborhood, would people be willing to show somebody from the county or GSI where their wells are? Because if we do it based on papers that's recorded or well logs that are recorded with OWRD, it's gonna take a little while. Do you think people, and sometimes people don't even know, do you think the landowners or the tenants who live there would be willing to share that information?
She's one of the owners, she shared.
I'm not in West Glen, I'm
Oh, yeah.
here again.
Yeah, but probably, yeah, because
Okay.
I think, yes, when we went to door, and we know that, and sometimes, the people share with us, they have many problems.
Uh-huh,
Because
uh-huh,
sometimes the well is, in one property,
yes,
and when something happens, the family who is interested to participate in the water meetings, they don't have the time or the keys to open the well to fix that, and
okay,
many problems.
okay,
Yeah, but of course, I think, they share that information.
okay.
But my concern is why the other ways of other data, they don't have that information.
It's a lesson that I started learning a couple of years ago when the nitrate issue, was more abundantly clear. I just assumed because Water Resources Department has a really robust, detailed database for wells that are 10 years old. It's not as good for wells that are 20 years old and older wells. And these are domestic exempt wells, so you do not need a water right for it. They don't have very good information.
And I don't suppose most of them are recorded consistently.
I'm guessing that's right. I mean, the way that subdivision was developed in the 70s, 80s.
It should be on your deed, but.
Yeah, for
It
example,
should
I don't even know where they're-
Some people don't even know, because some of those are old handshake deals, and I don't
Yeah.
even, the
And they
deeds weren't
assumed it.
recorded, and they went,
They made assumptions,
They
and
did, yeah.
and they didn't have it.
Mine's
for
a
deeds.
separate document.
but you're a little more sophisticated than the average bear. Like when-
You got new one, right?
And you knew what to ask. I think there are some people
It
who
was
didn't
built
even
in
know
the
they needed to
80s.
ask
Whereas,
Oh, you have
I mean,
water,
that's where the
okay.
concrete, I mean, but it's a late seventies home, so I mean, and there's a lot of people up in our area that have a shared well.
Mhm.
OHA, for example, the of the apartment, they have data on that, right?
They don't have well data, they have water sample data.
But I think they are connected because
Okay,
we
I
have the
can add,
names, yeah, we have
Okay.
the names and addresses. And for sure, they have that connection,
okay,
yeah.
it's worth asking.
In other, yeah, and DQ, they are monitoring, specific, like a 29 or 30 wells for DQ.
Yeah, and
They
that's
have
their, that's their test, those test wells that they have.
But of course, they, for sure, they have that.
Okay. If,
And
it might
I
be,
don't think they probably do, because I've looked at that Oregon well log report so many times, and there's not a lot out there. There's a
Uh-huh.
lot of houses where, you know, like, they have to have a well or a well close to
Uh-huh.
their house, and there's nothing there.
do you think that if we had like a work party with the two of you and we just brought out a map and said, okay, here's this property. I think there's about 80 properties like in the West Glen subdivision and then just on the edges.
Yeah.
Where's your well? And we could just scribble on a map. I mean, it might be
Yeah.
fairly,
so.
at some point, we're gonna have to get that information.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any ideas of how we would get that information?
So just seeing a pump house is gonna be,
helpful.
we can certainly research deeds.
And-
see
and
what's-
also-
Yeah,
What's on
a
deeds.
deed per each part.
And
That's gonna be,
If any of us has an intern, we could probably get that accomplished.
And also, if we do go door to door with Matt, you know, that's something we could look for when we
That's
go to
great.
people's houses, just to have a map and just say, oh, well, there's their pump house, and that house doesn't have a pump house, so it probably is sharing a well with somebody else.
that's even better to just ask them.
It's
So-
a good property lines to try to figure out.
And our office can give you and Matt some good maps.
And who else is on our advisory board? We've got.
Myra
Saida
and Sarah haven't clean.
Was
And
it-
Myra's mom goes to like all the ORA meetings and stuff, and she was at the last meeting that we had, her mom goes to all that stuff too, so, I haven't tried and seen Myra or talked to her at all.
And Saida's family has a couple there.
Yeah.
Saida Sanchez?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Whose name?
Who's
Brenda, she was.
Oh, a different one.
She got married.
Oh, right, yep, I did know that. Okay.
Because they have the one property that has a house and the one next to it doesn't have anything, and then Caesar bought the one across the street.
Here's a request that I meant for Roman, because I know he's trying and also Curtis at Water Resource. If you find where a well's at, it's very delicate. If you know how to put it on your phone, you drop a pin so that you can get location. Because they need to go location and then they can start tracking it. That needs to go into the water resource data. And then they're gonna figure out how old's the wellhead, how much does it do? I mean, that's before they even get into the quality of water, they also need quantity. And it's gonna be a nightmare. It's not just easy on a deed, but ultimately the bottom line is, you know, people, clean drinking water, but
So Ronan and,
challenging.
yeah, sorry about that. Ronan and some of his technical team have some of that information. I just haven't asked for it for that neighborhood, so we can, that's a really good point. So we need to know which well and some, I didn't even think about that. You're inviting people and they might not own the well, so.
Or the people that do own the well aren't, you know, maybe they're not from here, they're not around, and they kind of aren't interested in participating.
Mhm. So you want the tenant or the renter?
Well, then that's
Oh.
where, yeah,
Mhm.
You gotta
that's where it
pinpoint.
gets
Yeah.
tricky.
I think
You need
it's-
the landlord as well.
It's gonna be a big issue, because there might be some landlords, owners that are absent, and it's not my problem, and the people that are living there are the ones that are reaping the consequences of the situation.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, next up is, Russian CDS 2, Oregon Water Infrastructure, Matt. What do you got on that?
So, we are still working on, Nick Dakota is working on the application for the project. We have heard back from Jessica Keys saying that the update on scope, we've heard back from EPA through Jessica Keys that the scope of the project that we're proposing is acceptable and will not require a major change in the CDS application, which would have required us to go back to Congress, which we're glad we can avoid at this point. And we have received an affirmation from OHA saying that this is an acceptable use and that they support the project. The one item that we're waiting on, and I need to check base with Nick Dakota, kind of got lost, I think, with the holidays with people being out, is we're waiting word from Oregon Water Resources Department about whether they give us a thumbs up on the project. CDS 2 project is looking to assist with Oregon's exploration for a new well and do infrastructure improvements in that way. And so this is all keyed up to help connect people in unincorporated area right around Oregon the same way we're proposing right now with the West Glen area. And so we're just waiting back from OWRD, and then we'll get the whole application through. It seems like we've done a lot of tentative approvals on that, and it seems like we have a clear road. But as soon as we can get that going, we'll hopefully have some good news to report back. This grant is through Morrow County, but has a substantial impact on nitrates, and we'll need to work out how the disbursement will be going through with the city of Oregon if this project is approved, and what role that the consortium has in playing with that. So, but I wanted to give you just a quick update on that. We're very close to getting all the stakeholders in line for us to proceed with this application.
Okay, any questions, comments on the CDS 2?
Hey, Matt, just so you're aware of, Chris is still chasing down other people to give input from WRG, so I'll ping him first of the week of next week, give him enough time after the holidays, but he's WRD is not one of the fast agencies in the state for response.
Yeah, that was kind of our read as well. So we're just waiting for them, and if you can ping them, that'd be great. I'll be having Nick kind of ping as well. So,
Any other comments? Okay, next up will be our last, well, any other business, I guess I kind of. We'll
the
come
only
back to.
thing
Other business?
is we do have a request, and we did receive confirmation that CDS 3, which was a project for unincorporated areas, was included in the congressional requests. And so we're happy to report that. It's, with the state of the federal government right now, I don't want to get too reliant on that, but I did just want to let you know that the Morrow County CDS 3 project is in the list of projects, and we'll see how the federal government deals with that.
Matt, is that 2.425 million?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, all right. That's the word I got as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any board members or anyone else have any other business?
I think that the county's having something, is that correct? For water at Riverside coming up, health district.
It is, the Public Health Department and OHA.
Why
And,
not West County?
let me look. Yeah, and there's one in Umatilla County and one in Morrow County. Does August sound about right?
Is it 18th for one of them?
August 18th sounds familiar.
Just remember talking to him, that to be against him.
Yes, oh, no. not the most efficient way of looking. You just ask Rob.
It's actually, the open house is July 30th in Riverside and July 31st in Hermiston. And this is for people who use well water. It's more from the public health associations, OHA, and Morrow County, Umatilla County. And it's kind of their regular item about resources and information. They did ask actually for Tamara and I to attend those meetings. And I haven't had a chance to touch base with Tamara what that subject matter will be, or what we need to do to be involved in that.
The 30th.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity to ask some of those well owners their addresses, if they're shared well. What a great place to connect with
That's a great idea, Kelly.
people coming and going that are going to be there. So
Because they had those meetings in the past have had a good turnout, and so maybe we asked to go there, and if we have someone who's from West Glen area or other areas in Morrow County, we can ask them that.
Great idea. Yeah, we can just do a big map and people love to point at their property on a map.
Maybe even put pins so they can put them in.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, I agree with Kelly. I think this is just a basic question for community members. Do you share your wealth? Who is the owner? Do you know the owner? Who is owning the property? Is it the property, or that's just basic things? And I have a question about how many, for example, OHAs, the health department, and CBOs and Morrow and the county is involved in this to solve this issue. How many boards are together to do a basic question like this? Did you share your wealth? Do you have an idea, separate ideas, or what is the strategy to get more information to get solution at this point? That's my
Is this, part of the GSI?
They have,
Grown and is
so-
he helping to have the agencies come in?
that's right. So as part of the roadmap project, they've downloaded, if you will, all of the OHA data. And that was, but I don't think it has the specific location of wells on it. But that's how, if you look at the roadmap website, can't remember what it is. And it has the different focused areas. You have red for the higher levels of nitrate. That came from OHA data. But again, I don't think it connects the well and the property. But if what you're asking is if maybe the county could ask OHA and really ourselves, because the public health department is working together with OHA. Maybe when they go out and sample, that could be a question.
You know, Tamara, if the data that they collected from OHA or from the county or from whoever, it all had phone numbers on it. There's 100 people is all. How tough is it to pick up the phone and call 100 people? Ask them if they have a shared well, ask them to come to these meetings, ask them to do those things. I mean, we pretty much know, you know, what West Glen is. They probably put their address on it. Their address is located in West Glen. They have a telephone number. Because when we got the test results, we had to phone those people immediately. If they were above. So it's all the information's there. We just need to maybe look at that database.
Yeah, and then we need to identify the warm bodies who are gonna make the calls. I mean, making 100 phone calls that with people who may or may not speak the same language.
Well,
Sounds like a lot of work to me, but it's a super good point. I just,
so what a great
maybe-
idea for a CBO. I mean, why,
Sure.
our CBO that we're paying $20,000 for. Pick up the phone and call them 100, I mean, we're paying them to have these meetings and such.
Sure.
But 3 well owners come, that doesn't seem like a very effective use of time to me. Seems
Well,
like
the,
there's a better way to do this.
yeah, I don't know that we contracted with Rev to ascertain the location of the well, but it might be something they just put in their survey so that we get that, just that value added to that other piece that they're doing.
Or if they have a well on their property.
Yeah, I mean, you can pinpoint, at least you, of that 100, what if you can, move aside 50?
Maybe the
And now
consortium,
you're down to 50. It's a lot better than going up to the 100.
maybe the consortium pony up some money to pay somebody to make these phone calls.
That's a great idea. You know, anybody who wants a part-time job? That would be Matt's, that would be.
Brent.
Oh,
Part-time job.
did you? I want a part-time job. Anna Maria just raised her hand, Matt.
I mean, it would take
I think
have
that
to
would
Not
be,
even, I don't even think it would take a day to just. call
Really?
You know, like my mom doesn't answer numbers that she doesn't know, but if somebody leaves a voicemail, then at least she knows that it's a legit call because,
Okay.
she's older and there's a bunch of scam calls.
Sure.
So if she doesn't answer a number she doesn't recognize,
We're gonna go.
but if somebody leaves a voicemail and says, hey, I'm calling from this place,
I went to every
she
single
can
one of
listen
them.
to it and say, oh, I need to call these people back.
okay, okay. Okay. We'll connect you with Matt.
So just a quick question, Tamara, when all I heard all the testing was done, that was done from the house, not from the wellhead, right?
Right,
All of it,
that's
okay.
right, that's right.
Yeah.
And there have been it's been going on for 2 years, or are we on the 3rd year? We just passed the hump, we're now starting the 3rd year, because it was June of 2023. The methodology has changed from when it was initially tested. And the initial tests were based on an address. And that address may or may not be the location of the well. Yeah, I just need to wrap my head around it. I think you're right. Phone calls.
You can have 12 people sharing a well, maybe 20 at the most. The rest are gonna be individual.
Yeah,
It can't be that difficult to do, 100 people.
well, not all on the same well,
Simple problem, just fix.
because that
how to do
becomes
it.
a public well. Okay. Yeah, I guess I wasn't even thinking about this when, we were helping Rev identify the landowner to mail out the postcards, but that's why they're doing more than one meeting, right? So door to door, finding out
And
who
there's
lives
only
in.
71 in the West Glen area. The other that make up the 100 are outliers.
They are, but,
They're on Paul Smith, right?
yeah, and I don't think, the way I've understood it, and maybe that's work for the consortium, is we're using the term West Glen, not the formal platted subdivision, but the greater West Glen community. So anybody who's in that area, so if the subdivision looks like a box, we're grabbing those people south of Wilson, right? Coonsey, south of Coonsey, that anybody, so it's a bigger number. I can't remember, it's less than 100, but more than 75. Kevin,
Okay,
and Matt has both of your phone numbers, right? Okay,
any other comments?
I love giving work.
Any other business? Nope. All right, we'll call the meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Super good point.